The following is a presentation of KSL Sports. First and 12. A total roundup of BYU and Utah football and the expanded Big 12 Conference. Brought to you by Macy's Grocery Stores. Your hosts are Mitch Harper and Alex Kirry on KSL News Radio and the KSL Sports Zone.
What is up, everyone? First and 12 rolls on, recapping Week 8 of 2024 college football season. Mitch Harper, Alex Kirry with you. And if you miss any part of this program, I understand you can't listen all 2 hours. I get it. It's okay. You can go check us out on the podcast feed on KSLSports.com or wherever you get your podcast. Leave that 5-star rating and a review. It helps us out a ton. I know Cougar fans are feeling good this weekend. Ute fans, not as much. They are not feeling as good right now. But you know, the rest of the Big 12 Conference, like every week in this league, it's a mixed bag of feelings. And let's unpack all of it in the Big 12 headlines.
12 headlines.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12.
The dozen storylines that shape this week of Big 12 football. Headline 1.
All right, let's kick things off. BYU and Iowa State, obviously. That one was an exciting one. Probably, I mean, listen, between those two teams, if you had on the bingo card both BYU and Iowa State would have some real scares at home against their respective opponents that they were supposed to beat handily. I think, at the very least, BYU was almost a double-digit favorite over Oklahoma State. Iowa State
13.5.
had to be, right? And so then, of course, they both finished with the exact same finish, 38-35 over with a last-minute touchdown to win the thing. Just like you have planned. Brett Yormark is probably, absolutely ecstatic for that one just because they came down to the wire, but he also has 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12 at the top. So, those were exciting. Oklahoma State and UCF, kudos to them. They showed up against their extremely difficult opponents and made a game out of it, but neither able to pull it out there at the end.
As you pointed out, Alex, BYU and Iowa State are the only undefeated teams remaining in conference play and at large. Both teams 7-0 on the season. BYU first time since 2020. Iowa State first time since 1938. Gas was 19 cents per gallon.
Look at you.
The last time Iowa State was 7-0. So good times with the best bridge in the land out in Ames. Number 3, Utah's offense completely absent until 71-yard touchdown to Money Parks, but it wasn't enough. 13-7 loss to TCU. And the Boo Birds were out for Andy Ludwig.
Yeah, it was a weird one, to watch that happen, and they end up with 267 yards. But as you pointed out, before that big play to Money Parks for 71 yards, they had 82 yards of offense till that point. So they were just over 100 yards going into the fourth quarter, and they end, with only 7 points to show on the night, and TCU gets the win. Both TCU and Utah 4-3 right now in the season, and like I said, Utah having lost now 3 in a row in conference play. They're 1-3 in conference, and they got a lot to fix. Number 4, TCU, not only do they get themselves bowl eligible, but they're eking out that win, gets them to that 4-3. That's a tough environment for them to go to. And as a schizophrenic team in the Big 12, and there are a lot of them, TCU can win in hostile environments. They have enough dogs, Mitch, to be able to get wins. And they'll, of course, have the head-scratching losses. I'm looking at the Houston game, of course, but TCU continuing to go to Salt Lake over the years. It's been a place that they've been able to go in and win, and they did it last night.
Headline number 5, Oklahoma State looked like the team we thought they would be in the preseason, but injuries mounted up. Garrett Rangel, the starting quarterback, he went out in the first half, and then Ollie Gordon, the star running back, both got banged up in that loss to BYU, but maybe some hope for the future for Oklahoma State. I know Pokes fans probably not thrilled to see Alan Bowman back at QB, but, man, he even looked good on the ground against BYU. So, maybe Oklahoma State's got some fight in that second half of the season, but I still kind of have my questions because the injuries are mounting up for the Pokes.
Well, it was a head-scratcher for sure when you saw Ollie Gordon go down hardcore after that Isaiah Glasker hit, and then you thought, oh, he might be out for he was out for a dozen plays. Then he comes back in, gets hurt again, and then still goes back in the game again. I mean, it was an absolute, beast performance by the guy. You can see why he's one of the best in the land. But despite the loss, though, Iowa State, to Iowa State. UCF is that's a team that's starting to look a little bit better. We thought that we'd kind of thrown them on the garbage heap a little bit after we saw how bad KJ Jefferson was playing. But R.J. Harvey, don't forget about that guy. 196 yards on the ground for UCF at Iowa State, a very stingy defense. If you're BYU, you should be kind of concerned for that Orlando trip because R.J. Harvey is a man.
No question. And Miami transfer Kirry Brown at quarterback. It is going to be a run-heavy attack. You know, there was a little bit of talk that KJ Jefferson was maybe going to get some snaps in that game against Iowa State, but Kirry Brown, the passing wasn't great, but him and R.J. Harvey as a running tandem, it worked out well to where they put a scare in Iowa State. And look, Iowa State was the best defense in the Big 12 coming in, and like BYU, gave up a lot more points than they typically give up. So UCF, that was a good moment for them because it felt like their locker room was kind of a little bit disjointed with 6 or 7 players going to the transfer portal. You know, what tricks did Gus Bus have up his sleeve? And, you know, it was a good response, but they got to ultimately get back on the winning side of things.
Yeah.
They're on a 4-game skid right now. Headline number 7, Texas Tech gets blasted by Baylor. Classic Big 12 head-scratcher in this one. First loss in conference play for Joey McGuire. I mean, at some point, Joey, it's got to work, McGuire. You're a great recruiter, but you got to get results.
Well, and especially on the defensive side of things, how many times has Texas Tech given up a ton of points this year? Just so happens in a lot of those games that they were able to kind of erase people's feelings on it because they would win those shootouts. Not the case. Baylor puts up 59 against Texas Tech. And it's the head-scratcher, Mitch, just like you said, because – I mean, of course, Baylor having a struggle of a year, and then they almost put up 60. And that's headline number 8. Sawyer Robertson throws 5 touchdown passes to stave off the haters for at least one more week for for their coach because, frankly, everybody is looking on the sidelines and they're going, how long are we going to have to see this situation happen? But you know what? They put up 60 against a team who was undefeated in conference play before going into that game.
And you got to think Robertson loved that moment. Lubbock native. And he goes into his hometown and gets a huge performance, 5 touchdown passes. Baylor trending up. They've been playing some good ball as of late. That was a big statement for them. Headline number 9, is it time to give an apology to Coach Prime? Do you believe? Yes, I believe, Coach Prime. They absolutely rock Arizona, 34-7 in Tucson. And they didn't even need Travis Hunter in the second half. He rested his shoulder. Arizona, on the other hand, they are completely lost, but the Buffs, they are looking legit.
My son pointed it out to me. He said, "Hey, you called this game on your show on Friday. You said Arizona is so bad right now that Colorado's going to win that game." And I was like, you know what? I did say that. But I was also dreading this moment, too, because I don't want to apologize to Colorado for anything at this moment. All right, Arizona State is your headline number 10. They lose this one against a pretty decent-looking Cincinnati team. I don't know what to think about Cincinnati, but my goodness, they only have one conference loss. I think both Arizona State and Cincinnati are 5-2. Kenny Dillingham calls out his bad kicker. Poor kid. His mom was disappointed in those comments, I'm sure. He's asking the student section for a real tryout. Our producer, Eric, said he's going to fly down this weekend to see if maybe he can or this week to maybe put himself out there. Hey, you can enroll online just like everybody else does now at Arizona State, and let's get that thing going. Cam Scatterbo, by the way, 18 carries, 75 yards, very pedestrian for a guy who looked like a superstar last week against Utah.
Mill Avenue, highly recommend it. Great spot in Tempe. No, but let's see. Headline 11, Kansas State cruises past West Virginia. I didn't see this one coming.
No.
45-18. I thought, Kansas State probably wins, but I thought it'd be close. West Virginia, injuries. Garrett Green gets banged up. Jaheim White, their star running back, banged up. And then their star left tackle, maybe the best offensive lineman in the Big 12, Wyatt Millam, he was out too. West Virginia, you can't keep using the scheduling excuse, and I know they played a tough schedule. All 4 of the teams they lost to, a combined 1 loss this season, but still, you got to break through at home. And Kansas State, man, that beef up front on the offensive line, they dominated at the line of scrimmage. Wildcats are looking really good in the heading into the second half of the season.
The 12th headline of the night or the day here for us. It was the Battle of the Bad. And Kansas starts to wake up a little bit. Kansas gets the win this weekend over Houston in a blowout. And, Jalen Daniels looked like the guy that we thought we were going to see a couple of years ago there, Mitch. I don't know how long it's going to last, but got yourself a little bit of a performance there. I don't know if that's going to wake up Kansas's offense totally, but they scored over 40 points, and they they show Houston, or they show everybody what Houston is actually made of, and that's not a very good football team. So there you go. Both teams now 2-5 on the season. There you go. There's your 12 headlines of the Big 12 for this weekend. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We've got our sound roundup around the corner. Stay right here with us. It's First and 12, 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone and KSL News Radio.